to X and Facebook. Be back. All right, just 1 second. Right back at you. Okay, everybody. I am back. And I am it's been a very strange day today. Monday, it was like fall today. It was like fall today, early fall. A little humid outside. Took that for a walk, and we were gone for a while. I just let him, do what he does. Sniffs. He sniffs all the sniffs, and we come home. But it was nice. It was very quiet. It was the only one at the park. It was like all of us introverts need to just, say leave us alone, and give us an hour at like a park or even shopping, where you're by yourself and nobody can bother you. That would be great. Anyway, you're by yourself and nobody can bother you. That would be great. Anyway, so I did that, but it's like a fall day, so I kind of like it for the first day of school. But one of my guys here, sent me a video where Dave Filoni basically talks about the Skywalker saga, and how he says where it goes, and that it's a full arc, and it didn't need to go on. Interesting. And of course, I think it was a video taken at the height of the sequel trilogy thing. So I'm trying to get Baz to get that, to look for it and see if he can get it, because I want to use it. But it's very interesting to me that he would say something like that. And the YouTuber that posted it, I gotta say this. He basically said, did we really need a sequel trilogy? And we've got Bob Iger telling George Lucas, your company isn't worth what you want us to pay because you don't have any movies coming out. George produced his sequel treatments, and off they went, right? George, I think, didn't feel like they needed it. Now, again, if you look at it, I think it's fine that there's sequels, because we got them in the EU. I think it's fine to ask what happened to Han, Luke, and Leia after Endor, and what Disney produced has been atrocious, been shit, to be honest, garbage, right? It does make people. I can see why people would say the story was complete. Little historical thing. Winston Churchill said once, it is not the beginning of the end. It is the end of the beginning, which means this is done. We go this way then, because there's more stories to tell. And that's fine. I don't necessarily look at Heir to the Empire, the Jedi Academy novels. Hey Dave, how you doing? And the rest of them as being Skywalker saga, right? Even the stories about Anakin, hey Kim, even the stories about Jaina, Jason, and Anakin Solo really don't feel like Skywalker saga, right? Because, the fans are curious about, okay, how does Luke do this? How many kids do Han and Leia really have, right? And, there's nothing wrong with exploring that. I understand why he would say that, right? We didn't, and I kind of agree with him, and I kind of don't. I would like to see the sequel trilogy get pushed off into its own timeline and forgotten, which is what I think is happening. Now, if you remember, last spring they had that video at Galaxy's Edge when it did the Skywalker saga, Shadows of Legends or whatever they called it. I was not shocked that the sequel trilogy was not added. What I think they're doing is they're going to take Mandalorian all the way into that timeline, and it's forgotten. There's only episodes 1 through 6, and then everything else. And then they can go back to Revan, the beginning of the Jedi, etc., and do that. Because, look, first off, I don't like Marvelizing Star Wars. I think it's stupid, and I think they probably should just do the core characters. Oh, and I want to say this. Anthony Gruber has got a movie coming out called Primal War, and it's about Vietnam, and it's a very batshit crazy thing. They've got the trailer out, and I've got video of him talking about it. And I mean, he really does look like a young Harrison Ford. I mean, he really does. And if they want to do it, and they want to, because there's such a fight between people who don't mind deepfakes like me, and people who want everybody to recast, and I always bring up awful Aaron Reich, or Aaron Yuck, and say, do not ever cast somebody like this when he's replacing Harrison Ford. Ever. And the reason why is because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Recasting is a very delicate thing. It's a very delicate thing because you're always going to have people who remember the original stuff. And you're always going to have people that are going to remember what they saw, the original, and they're not going to be happy if you do it half-assed. Again, when you have Ron Howard talking sadly, and I agree with him about Soilo, you got to go, okay. Part of it was those young directors. They never should have been hired in the first place. They weren't serious. And I wouldn't have hired Ron Howard because he's as cool of a guy as he is. He is really a safe movie director. He's very safe, and he doesn't like to take a chance, which puts him like in the opposite corner of like a Quentin Tarantino, who I think would have been. You imagine him directing and producing the Han Solo origin story. A Quentin Tarantino, Sam Raimi, Ridley Scott, somebody like that. But because Kennedy is Kennedy, and she can't handle the boys, they hired Lord and Miller, and then she wasn't competent enough, nor did she care enough to watch the dailies. It's funny. Robert Evans, when they were making Love Story, watched the dailies every day when it was being filmed, when it was in principal photography. He would go and say, Sheila, to his secretary, tell editing I'm coming down to see the dailies. So he could see what was going on, so he could write notes and tell them, this works, this doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And that's the way you do it. If you're the president of a company like Lucasfilm, you're expected to know that. Right. So I am very, let's go that way. Kennedy didn't do that with Solo, which is why the movie failed. She hired a guy that didn't deserve to be in the movie as Han Solo. He didn't deserve it. I mean, look, I'll be nice and say Aaron Reich could play Dash Rendar, or a B rated smuggler or whatever, but he's not Han Solo. Again, Francis Ford Coppola in the TV show The Offer. But Don is a very specific type. Han Solo is a very specific type. He was written when John Wayne was still making movies, when Clint Eastwood was still making movies, Steve McQueen. Trust me, those characters informed George Lucas about what that character should be like. Right? What you want, if you're going to do an origin story, is to make it dark, is to make it gritty, is to make it, dare I say, violent. Give him a reason. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Give him a reason to be the way he is, because we don't know. And of course, if you go to one of the black pills, well, we really didn't see a background story. Don't care. Don't care what you want. That's a cop-out to me. That's a cop-out they're not thinking. If you're gonna do it dark, brutal, do it the way it should have been done instead of the fuck did I just see? I mean, I'm never gonna forgive Maze for daring me to watch that on Disney Plus. I watched it once, never again. Never, ever, 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 right? Never. But Ron Howard had a point. You got Mark lately in interviews going off on, in a subtle but snarky way, on the sequels. You got Harrison Ford talking about how Star Wars made his career, made Carrie's career, made Mark's career, and how what a good time they had making the trilogy and all that, and then kind of offering, being very charitable towards the sequel trilogy cast as a whole, and Adam Driver in specifics, and I know why. Adam Driver did say he didn't know if he wanted it. It took him 4 months to decide if he wanted that role. And the reason why is because he was going to go down in history as the actor that killed Han Solo. You think so, Schnozola? Mr. Big Nose? I mean, I'm not that empathetic, especially since that guy makes more money with what he's done than my husband made in his whole life as a Marine Corps officer. I mean, I'm like, my sympathy doesn't lie with you, right? Now, that being said, what his fans did to him, his wife, and his kids was beyond, or his son, beyond my comprehension. They stalked him, they threatened his wife, they threatened Daisy Ridley's now husband, they threatened the child. I mean, see, these are so many of the problems in dealing with the sequel trilogies, because all the shit, and George never intending to really make a sequel. Now, 40 years ago, he told Mark, would you like to come back and make another 3 movies as Luke as an older, wiser, Grand Jedi Master? And Mark said, sure, right? But then somewhere, I think after the prequels, I think George said he didn't want to do it. And when asked publicly in interviews, he said there was no sequel trilogy. Then when he decides he's going to sell Lucasfilm, not because of the fans, but because Marion County would not let him expand Lucasfilm in Marion County, he decided to sell. And we have what we have. So I'm not necessarily saying that we should have another three's movies called the Skywalker Saga, but again, what I'm saying is, Heir to the Empire, these movies don't have to be called Skywalker Saga, right? But the central characters should be Han Solo, Leia Organa Solo, and Luke, right? And then everybody else like Ahsoka, you know, Talon Card, Din Djarin, Grogu, Rhoda the Hutt, who's going to be in Mando and Grogu, are all secondary characters, depending on importance. And of course, you've got Grand Admiral Thrawn, right? Grand Admiral Thrawn is I think, is a character worth exploring, right? And I think, and I'm going to break the Black Pill's hearts, that Lars Mikkelsen did a fantastic fucking job as Grand Admiral Thrawn. So, you know, but they don't have to be the Skywalker saga. Let Han, Luke, and Leia kind of be part of the main plot and drive it forward, but it ends at episode 6, and the episode 6 is the end of that, the beginning of a new chapter, right? And then whatever those are can just, you know, and I think to really add emphasis, I believe that Disney needs to address it publicly. All right. So let's talk about the Rey movie. So I did a video, put it out this morning. I did it this weekend about gaslighting. You know, gaslighting. Great. The media on Bill, on Joe Biden's dementia. He's as sharp as a tack. He just walked into a door. He just shook hands with somebody that wasn't even there. Yeah, he's sharp as a tack. That's the thing that I really want to talk about here, because that's what Kennedy is doing and has done, and the black pills that are her allies, or the black pills are her allies, because they're doing exactly what she wants. They're basically part of her cabal to burn it down on the way out the door. All right. And they put nonsense out there that isn't true. Gaslighting. There's a Rey movie. Then how come they're making Starfighter and not the Rey movie? Right? How come the writer they picked is now doing James Bond? Daisy Ridley has other things she's doing. Oscar Isaac basically told a fan at Star Wars Celebration he wasn't in the Rey movie, because there is no Rey movie. There never has been, there never will be. Kennedy used it to gaslight the fans, to make it look like she had control and that her projects were going to get made. And I'm going to be very honest. Ever since Sparrow said last week that Kennedy's assistant had been moved out of the presidential suite, I don't think she's been there at Lucasfilm in well over a year. It doesn't look like it, doesn't feel like it. She's keeping up the pretense because she wants to believe the bullshit that was said about her after, the success of The Force Awakens, which, when you really look at it, it's a shitty fucking movie. It's a shitty fucking movie. And I'm going to say, when Harrison Ford talks about Star Wars, he's not talking about that shit. He's talking about 4 through 6, right? He's thinking about that. Not J.J. Abrams, paint by numbers, connect the dots, you know, crap, right? So I look at people and go, why do you believe that? What, when everything out there in the news, first off, dissing Matt Bellany. That's really stupid because Matt Bellany is way more connected than, I'm going to say, Film Threat, Chris, definitely more, connected than Beekler, Midnight's Edge. Chris Gore, way more connected than that. And if he said she's leaving in a few months to a year, there you go. Run with it. Because she is. All right? So why, when you look at what he said and the fact that when he clapped back after she made that psychotic interview and he clapped back, why wouldn't you believe him? Why? This guy is a hell of a lot more informed on what's going on inside Hollywood than anybody we know on YouTube. I mean it. He knows shit, right? Then, of course, he just confirmed what Sparrow has been saying, right? And that's the thing, right? So why do you believe, A, she's not going anywhere? B, a Rey movie's being made. You know, it's like, let it go. Can't you see it wants to die? Let it go. I mean, there's nothing there. Her merch doesn't sell. Every movie that featured this lousy character got a weaker box office from 2.3 million to 1.3 or billion, from 1.3 billion to barely a billion. So it's like, why do you believe this when you know what Lucasfilm is doing? It's not like they're the ones being coy. And they're the ones putting this shit out there. It's Kennedy pretending in vain now that she still is relevant in the day-to-day business of that company, and she's not. She's not. All right. And I'm literally, I just look at people and go, what the fuck are you talking about? And the reason why, and you gotta know, is because there's nothing out there besides, let's see, the direct, inside the magic, in any, vaguely popular black pill fucking YouTube channel. That's it. They're not connected to anything real, right? They're not. You could bring up any fan website and I'll go, no. Who said it? When you got Jeff Snyder, who is, look, Jeff Snyder is not right all the time, but as a human being, he's a decent soul. I've had conversations with him. And, when he said she's done in January, yeah. But when Matt Bellany said she's done sooner, I believe Bellany. But, Jeff is just doing that. And if she's not done in a few months or maybe whatever, she'll be done in January, right? I mean, you can tell it's over. You can tell there's a new guard that has come in. And the fact that Gina won. Hey, Carlos, Gina won her case. She has her job back, you know, and there's plenty of time to film inserts and pickups with her. Isn't there? Yeah, yeah. All right, for Mando and Grogu. And that's going to make that show get a lot. In fact, I'm going to say this a lot of the people that are screaming nothing but good ever happens concerning Star Wars, what they don't understand is, what they don't understand is they got this, that shit really started when Gina got fired, right? And now she's back. They don't have a lot to say anymore because Cameron predicted gonna, they were gonna sell with her. I predicted they were gonna sell with her, right? Other people did. Here we are. They settled, you know? And it's like, I'm really stunned that these people just can't let it go. You know, be clear with this little tom tom. Star Wars is dead, repeat. Star Wars is dead, repeat. It's not. Gina, look, first of all, Gina's back. Galaxy's Edge, what is it, the Shadows of Legends or whatever it was called, that 12-minute movie. No mention of the fucking sequel trilogy. None. None. You think you get a clue, but they can't see it. First off, it's cognitive dissonance. Second of all, they make money. And apparently they need the income stream. I mean, I'm like, whatever. I know I don't and don't want money from this. I don't. Because then it wouldn't be real. All right, anyway. So is there a Rey movie? No. Did Kennedy gaslight us on that? Yeah. Yeah. Is the sequel trilogy going to be removed from canon? It sure looks like it. But you have to be awake to see it. Anyway, I gotta run. This is Steph signing out. See you around the galaxy.